what I was doing. I was probably out having a few beers or whatever, you know, and I didn't even listen to the game, didn't even care about the game. And I came back to my dorm, and it was early though, it wasn't late, and all the guys there, even ones that didn't play, we were all great friends, and two of these guys that were on the team just were like running in the elevator, and they just said, you know, there's been a crash. We think it's a team. It might be the team. You know, we're going to the airport. You know, and they didn't even have to ask me if I was going. I just went with them, and we drove up there, and I could see it right now. I can see it in my mind. The airport, you know the area.
Yeah,
I mean, it's up on top of a hill, and there's only one road that goes up there, goes around.
Yep.
Well, people were trying to, there were cars everywhere. They were parked all over the grass and the side, just dumped, and people were running all around, and everybody was trying to get up the hill, and the police were there, and they already had one wooden horse across it. They were putting another one there when we got there. They were blocking the street. And one of the guys I went with, Charlie, was from Boston. It was like, well, we don't care if police would tell us not to go up there. We're going to find a way up there. And we went around to the other side of the mountain and just parked. There was nobody there. We just parked, you know, off the road in the dirt and climbed up the mountain. It was all raining and it was muddy. We got up to the end of the runway, and we were on the wrong side. It was not only the other end of the runway, but we didn't know it was a mile or whatever past that, you know, over another little hill. And so we ran down the runway, on the side of the runway, and we got to the parking lot for the terminal, and there was a graduate assistant, a guy who had been a senior the year before, and I'd practiced with all the year before, named Mike Bankston. And he was there with a van to pick up the coaches. And he said, what are you doing here? How'd you get up here? He said, you know, we just came up, you know, where is it? We want to go see the plane, see what happened. He said, oh, you can't see it. He said, it's over the side. And he said, he told us that he was standing outside the terminal waiting for the plane, and he heard the engines of the plane coming, and then it blew up in a fireball. Then he saw a fireball, and he said he ran all the way down to the other end. He said, but you can't get there. But we didn't listen to him. We kept going. And then we got in front of the terminal itself, and two cheerleaders stopped us. One was Debbie Chambers, was her name. Both her parents were on the plane, okay? And she was there. I know she must have been in shock, but she wasn't crying, she wasn't whatever, but she said, what are you doing? He said, we're going to crash. And they said, no, you can't. You just can't go. And they were like really begging us to leave, and they convinced, I wanted to go on, but my friends, they convinced us to go back to campus, and we went back to campus. When I got back to campus, someone said, you know, they got a help center set up at Gullickson Hall, was the gymnasium, and they said, you know, you ought to go over there and see what's happening, maybe they can help you out, you know, because I don't know what I was like at that time, I don't remember. And I went over there, and they had cots, you know, for people, and they had a lot of people were overwhelmed, and they had medical staff helping them, and they had counselors, grief counselors. But I really didn't find much for me, you know. I just kind of looked around and wasn't much. But then I ran into two girls, okay. One was Terry Rice, a friend of mine that lived in the same dorm I lived in. And then was this other girl, I didn't know who she was. You know, I don't remember much about it at all, and it was her. Okay. And then I just went back to the dorm, and you know, there was nothing there. We all walked back together, I guess. She remembers it. I don't remember any of it. You know, I didn't remember that was the night we met till later on. And then I had to go back in my room. You know, then everybody was gone. I was all by myself, and I had to go back in my room. Marcel was dead. I had to go back in there to sleep.
He was your roommate.
Yeah.
In that room.
Yes, okay. We were two Jersey boys living together in the dorm. And I decided, I don't remember, I decided I had to call my mom, you know, and I called my mom, and, you know, I remember saying, first thing I said, she had heard nothing about it. And I remember first thing I said, Mom, they're all dead. They're dead. They're all dead. And And she said, who, whatever, and we talked, and we had a long talk about it and whatever. And it was a good thing I called her, because the next day I was listed in the papers in Jersey and New York as amongst the dead.
And then you went back to the crash site the next day?
About 2 days later.
2 days later.
Okay, with the same guy, Charlie. Charlie from Boston, he was relentless. He wanted to, you know, he was very close to these guys, and he wanted
well,
to...
they all lived in the South Mall.
Everything was mangled except there was one motor. There's a picture of that somewhere. I don't know where. Here. This one motor, okay, was the only thing that looked, it was intact. This might not be it because this is tore apart, but there was one that was intact. And it was the only thing that you could even recognize was a plane. And I remember that I see it right now while we're talking about it. And we started walking down the hill, and there were 2 state troopers down there, you know, and they just kind of waved us back and said something, you know. And we just kept going, and we started hoofing it. We weren't running, but we were going to get as close as we could get to the plane, you know. And they kept telling us to go, telling us to go. Finally, they started running towards us, and we knew it was time to stop. We were about halfway down, and we stopped, and they just stopped, and they just let us stand there, and, you know, just look. And I don't know how long we stood there. We were there for a long time. Nobody said a word.
Do you have any idea what was going through your mind at that time?
No, all I remember from that is looking at. All I remember is the sight. I can see it better than these pictures right now while I'm talking to you. For people that were this close to it, it molds and runs your whole life. It does, okay? You can't get away from it. And I spent 20 years trying to bury it and stay away from it.
Why did you try to bury it? You wouldn't talk about it for 30 years, right?
I couldn't. It's hard. It's still hard. I mean, you don't want to talk about it. Nobody, anybody that now, that any of the people that were as close as I am to it, okay, they were the same way. If you try to find someone in the first 5-10 years to talk about it, you would not have been able to find someone. Okay, it's just part of the process that you go through, because you can't understand why. I still can't understand why me. Why am I one of the 18 out of the 50 of them, or whatever there was? And everybody goes through a tragedy and death, like she's talking about, whatever, in our family, but nobody goes through this. Nobody goes through
this magnitude.
Nobody. That's right. That's why it's one of the reasons I want to give that speech, okay? Because no one understands. I mean, you're talking, I think it was 37 or 35 guys, okay, that every single one of them, okay, I hit them on the football field. They hit me, okay? We went out and drank beers together. We took showers together, okay? We ate at the same training table. We lived in the same dorms, okay? We were all away from home. We all came there as strangers, and we're growing up together. And then they're gone, okay? All of them at 19 years old, 20 years old, and you're left, okay? Why would you want to talk about that? Why would you want to think about that? I mean, something this massive, it's just devastating on you. It runs your life for the rest of your life. You can't get away from it. You can't, no matter what you do, you can't get away from it. And after enough exposure to it, and after maybe enough thinking about it, and letting it come back in slowly with these people, then you can start talking about it. And I'll be a mess for a week now because I talked to you guys about this stuff, you know, and that's why people don't think about it, okay? Because it's just too hard. It's just too hard.
Why are you talking to us today?
Because the same reasons I wanted to give that speech, because you can't forget. It can't be forgotten. It can't be pushed aside. Oh, okay, you know, look there. Should we forget those guys?